work on the root chakra? Or is there more than one way to do it?
Multiple ways. And let's establish this. Being an alchemist, and you hear that word, and I say the word alchemist because in that word you have Semitic languages and multiple meanings. Big mistake people that study Egypt make is they call it kemet. That's the biggest mistake you can make. I'm going to tell you why. Kemet is a Hebrew word. Okay? And when you're saying kemet, you're identifying with ancient Hebrew culture. You're tying yourself back into religion. I tell people stop using that word. They want you to use that word. The word kemet comes from the son of Noah, Ham, or Cam, or Ham. Mm-hmm. So when you're saying kemet, you're connecting back to the time of Noah. Noah was a fictitious character. He didn't exist. So you're bringing your existence back to something that has no validity. That goes back to the ancient Egyptians, Sneferu, and the building of the pyramids. It gets into a whole other story. So when you're saying alchemist, that's a Greek word that they grafted from the Semitic language. Chem means black. You're literally saying when you're an alchemist, you're a black magician, a chemist. They're called, even in your Bible, they're called the 24 wise scientists. We were always scientists first before we were anything else, all right? So there's not one particular way. Everybody in here is supposed to create their own spiritual path that works for them. This is another thing that keeps us down. There's not one particular way to do a ritual. Being initiated in Yoruba/Santeria, those rituals were for that period of time. They don't have the same effect in this day and time. I'm bringing this up to get back to your question. When we're doing those rituals, they don't leave the same impression on the subconscious mind as they would have back then. Because remember, they were having sex a certain way. They were eating a certain way. They were dressing and living a certain way. A lot of that doesn't apply to this day and time. So that's why a lot of those rituals are not as effective today. And a lot of those initiations. We've been through that before. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Now, as far as ways to work with your root chakra, first and foremost, one should just educate themselves on the things that are affiliated with it, and then start creating their own systems. Like I say, when you know the colors, you know the certain crystals, sapphire, ruby. When you know certain crystals you can work with, myrrh, jasmine. When you know certain fragrances that activate it, then you can start creating your own ritual. You can start burning your own fragrances and doing your own meditation. Now, the most effective way is mental magic. I find by using just those enhancements, then the best way is to go in a kind of meditation, focus on where the root chakra is in the part of the body, and I would send that healing energy. I would visualize that reddish color go into the root chakra, and as I'm sending that red healing energy to it, I would visualize on what aspect of it I needed improvement. Meaning if it was finances, I would be focusing my mind on I need paths and doorways to open for consistent finances. You understand? Now, always know this. There's no spooky method. You're still going to do the work. You're just asking the ancestors, which is really your higher self. You're accessing your own DNA. You're just telling them to open the door. You're going to do the work. Because this is no hocus pocus. There's no I'm going to light a candle and hit the lotto. That's not how this shit works. What this really is you activating your subconscious mind. Because remember, real magic is manipulation of the subconscious mind. Not slitting the neck of goats and spilling blood on altars. That's the Europeans' version of it, called Satanism. That has nothing to do with us. So when we hear the word witchcraft and black magic, we got to get out of our head that. Because they've done that intentionally, because when you hear that, words carry tones and they activate thoughts. So when most people hear witchcraft, the mind starts to trigger to those thoughts. And that's done intentionally. And we got to break that cycle to get a full understanding of what we're discussing here tonight. So I would utilize that. Another very effective, this might sound funny to you, go into a park. I'm telling you, this is one of the most powerful things. Go into a park, a beach, somewhere where there's natural soil. Remove your shoes. This will help you get rounded with the earth chakra or the root chakra. Plant your feet in the soil, the sand, or the grass. Sit there and just meditate for a moment. And here's the most. Then lay flat on your back. Remember when we were kids? We used to make snow angels or dirt angels. Lay in the earth and spread your arms, spread your legs, because what you're really doing is you're creating that 6-pointed star. You're activating, but with the woman, it's the 5-pointed star. You're activating a certain energy when you're doing that. But that's one of the most effective ways. We can go through multitude, but I would do that in a park. There's meditations you can do, candle rituals you can do, and then just sometimes simply as you're around the house, burn certain fragrances that activate. That's simple. Like if you're just around the house studying, you can burn. I burn incense based on what chakra I'm trying to work with. You understand? So That's a couple of key things. I mean, again, we can go through a bunch of them, but I hope, that helps. Anybody else? All right. Sophia, I'm sorry. Sophia. I'm almost done with it.
It's okay.
All right, I'm going to go through a couple of quick connections with the root chakra that you need to be aware of. All right?
Is that a book that you have on sale?
I have one left.
I want it.
It's right there. It's right there. This is the last one. I'm using my copy here. I use this because it's a very simple book. I like to give people simple stuff to start out and work with, and it's called Working with Your Chakras by Ruth White. It's a very easy, simple book to follow. It's not complicated. It's a good book for people to start out with, and it's self-explanatory. Not complicated at all. I don't like to give people all these heavy, complicated books because you'll gravitate towards that anyway. All right? All right, so the root chakra. The developmental stage of this chakra is from 0 to 3.5 years old. We need to know this too, raising kids, because kids develop their imagination and personality up to the age 7. So what you feed them first 7 years is going to determine the character, nature, and personality they're going to have, in addition to what they've also incarnated here before us. Because remember, you carry those personalities and characteristics over. All right? Colors associated with it: red, brown, and mauve. Anything in the reddish-brown family, okay? It ties into the sense of smell. Very important to understand. It's connected to the physical. Its glandular connection is the gonads. Very important to understand. When you get swollen lymph nodes and things of that nature, you'll find out it's an imbalancement between the spiritual and the physical world. Most people get illnesses and sick. I'm talking about basic illnesses. When dealing with cancer and other severe illnesses, that gets a little bit more in depth. When most people get flus, infections, viruses, 9 out of 10 times it's a disconnect from what they call the silver cord or the etheric cord. There's an imbalancement there. And there's many simple things one can do to fix that if it hasn't gotten too far. Now, I always tell people you should only use medications just to get you restored, and then you should be able to recuperate and keep it balanced after that. Now, let me say why I'm saying that. I've watched people get severely sick and try to heal themselves with herbs, and then I've watched them get worse because they didn't know what they were doing. If you're a natural healing practitioner, and I don't claim to be, I mean, I deal with it, but by all means, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a medical professional. So I want to be clear on that. I do suggest, if you get to the point where you can't heal yourself, all medications can do is just get you restored. It's a temporary solution. It never heals you. Understand that. And when you're a melanated person, regardless of how light or dark skin you are, synthetic medications are the worst thing for melanin because it destroys it. They know this, and this is why they want to get melanated people on all types of medications and antibiotics. And I tell people, if you have to take antibiotics, you should be taking probiotics along with it, because probiotics replaces all the good bacteria that the antibiotics are stripping from your body. Because when you tend to come off those antibiotics, sometimes you get even more sick. And it's important to know that. So I don't recommend you dope yourself up with all these synthetic medications, because it damages your melanin. And the darker skinned you are, the more you need your melanin to be replenished. You need to be out in the sun more than a light-skinned person. People don't understand that. A fair-skinned person such as myself only needs 20 minutes of sunlight a day to recharge my melanin. Your melanin is activated in the nocturnal hours of the night. That's what the Dracula story is really about. They switched that around and pretended it was about the white man. But your high spiritual senses are heightened in the most darkest hours of the night. That's when your melanin is most activated. Not in the daytime, not out in the sun. The sun just recharges it. You are the original brotherhood and sisterhood of the night, the order of Anubu, the order of Set. And they keep telling you Set is disagreeable, and I keep telling you don't believe that crap. They just put another movie out on it, Gods of Egypt, which I saw a couple weeks ago, hilarious. And it just goes to show you how, and they did it during Black History Month, by the way, that was done intentionally too. It just goes to show you how they will indoctrinate your mind, and they know nothing about Set. The average person will Set, the Illuminati, the Caucasian. That has nothing to do with it. Set was one of the highest deities in ancient Egypt when dealing with spirituality and connection to what we call the afterlife or the underworld. He was one of the most highly reverenced deities pre-dynastic Egyptians. Not the Hyksos dynasty, who portrayed him as being negative. I work with that deity, one of the deities, Kali Ma of ancient India. These are deities I work with exclusively, and I can tell you this, they're powerful and they're real. And it's not what they're telling you on the surface. When I say work with them, I'm talking about the archetype energy that's associated with them. Not worship them, I said work with them. because I'm activating something that exists within me. I don't worship anything. I don't pray to anything. When people ask you, do you pray? No. I affirm, or I say affirmations that affirm. That's a difference. When you're making affirmations, you're affirming something. When you're praying, I ask people, when you're praying, what are you praying to? Then the look gets stumbled. Well, the Most High. Where's the Most High? Well, he's up there in heaven. He? Well, how do you know it's a he? Because when dealing with the doctrine of gender in the 7 Hermetic Principles, it says, when we evolve back into a vital life force being, there is no gender. So what are we talking about? So how is God a he? How is God a she? Gender manifested from the mental plane first on down. The physical realm, the female gender manifested first. Women were on the planet first before men. That's a scientific fact. So I hate to bust brothers' bubble. Everybody likes to talk about the original black man, the original Asiatic. That's a lie. The woman was here first. It's a fact. I can prove it. She predates the man. So the female gender manifested first physically on the physical realm. Mental plane, the male gender manifested first. This is why all your holy books record God as a man. That's it. And then the writers of the books were chauvinistic men that wanted to push the woman to the back and make them look second rate. And this is why all religions are male chauvinistic religions. And I always tell people this. And you know, the big thing now in the conscious community, everybody wants to practice polygamy. Well, I keep telling you, factually, women practice polygamy before men did. That's another fact. Okay? And that topic comes up, everybody gets all hot in the collar. So I tell sisters come to me all the time and say, my mate wants to have a polygamous relationship. And I say, well, first of all, there's rules that govern that. The first wife would have to approve of any other wife that comes in. That's number one. So if the first wife don't approve, it can't happen. See, brothers will use that as an excuse to pimp women and to get in their pants. That's a reality. You want to know how I know that? Because I used to do that back in the day. And I'm going to keep it 100% with you. Okay? There's all these brothers that still do it today. We're past that now. You understand? So my thing is, I tell sisters simply, if a man says that to you, then say, that's fine, as long as I can have multiple husbands. And watch how that shit gets shut down. Quick. All right? Genetically, when you go back to our androgynous history, okay? Because remember, the first beings that incarnated on this planet were what we call hermaphrodites or hemorphodites. They had dual sex organs. You can find this in ancient Egypt. Sakhmet. You can find this amongst Akhenaten. He was a hermaphrodite. Go look at all the depictions of him. He has a curvaceous figure, masculine face. This is for a reason. Go back to the Dravidian culture, you will see androgynous looking beings. So when we're talking about gender and what and who we really are, we're getting back into the essence of it now. So what really is gender, number one? And we know hermaphrodites exist. So whose image and likeness are hermaphrodites created in? Ask that to a religious person. Because if we're all created in the image and likeness of God, well, is that the devil? Well, God created the devil. See the game? It's a circle of garbage that we care not to bother with. Okay? All right. So those are colors. Okay? Then it goes into scents that you can activate the root chakra. Musk, lavender. I find musk to work real effective. I'll use Moroccan musk, African musk, Egyptian musk. I find when burning that heightens the root chakra big time. What I mean by heighten it, I'll find that week I'll have better influx of business and finances. Physically, I'll find that if my body wasn't feeling at its 100% capacity, even though I'll try to do regular exercise when I can, and try to keep my diet as regulated as I can, I'll notice it'll heighten the physical body, make you feel good. And if you exercise, it's just going to enhance it even more. All right, let me stop this.